Hey guys, welcome back. Today is going to be a really fun video because I'm going to be giving you an inside look into my own home, into how I created beautiful Christmas Wonderland Christmas trees. And so I give you a lot of tutorials on how to create these, but I think that showing you how I do it personally can also give you another perspective and give you a little bit of a glimpse into how my passion and hobby of decorating and creating things and sharing that with you. So I hope that you really enjoy today. I'm going to be taking you through two different types of Winter Wonderland Christmas trees. So I have one that's going to be a little bit more themed towards the glam or the glamorous side of Winter Wonderland, and then I'm going to take you through one that's going to be a little bit different but reminds me of this deep in the forest magical Winter Wonderland effect. And so this one just turned out spectacular, and I think it is even difficult to capture its beauty in the photo and video as it is in real life. And so I think that this is going to be a fun video for you to kind of see that contrast and how you can take this direction of this classic Wonderland tree in many directions. It's going to be a lot of fun for you today, so let's get started. Now, starting with the winter glam tree, I'm actually going to be doing this on a little bit of a shorter tree next to my fireplace, and I'm going to be doing a demonstration of how you can do an ornament garland. And so this tree, I would really like to show you how to put this together, and it can be done in different ways, and I think that I have a really good way to prevent it from being an absolute disaster for you. So starting with this tree, I'm going to be kind of layering up the skirts on it, and to do this I'm going to take a tablecloth and a table runner and just a table skirt that I already have, just to create some nice volume to the bottom of this tree. And the nice thing about this is if you use a smaller tree, you can really use linens that you have laying around your home. You don't need to go and purchase things all the time for your Christmas tree. Just look around at what you already have to be inspired. I think this is also a nice way to decorate. You don't have to have a full-size tree for every tree in your house, so this is another tip for you. And so what I will do first is just kind of drape that tablecloth around the tree, creating these nice little tufts, and then layering in around those tufts just some more texture. So I layer in some ribbon, I make a nice bow out of that table runner that's going to be a really thick heavy duty bow. And then around the base of the tree I also added a little bit of a blanket underneath of my tree skirt to make sure that my tree skirt is elevated and having a little bit of that body, so that there's nice overall appearance and fullness to the bottom of this tree. Once I have that set up, I also then add in a little bit of this garland, and just to add in a little bit of jewels to the tree, just to make it look like it's draped with some pearls. I think it's a really beautiful effect, and they're actually just wooden beads, but in this form on this tree I think that they look like pearls, and so I really love that look. And then I'm going to put in a large garland of ornaments that's going to wrap around this Christmas tree and kind of be the centerpiece for this design. And so if you guys have seen ornament garlands done in the past, maybe you've tried them and you just kind of take a piece of wire or string and thread your ornaments on, and what ends up happening is you have a perfect circle of ornaments, yes, but if you use any variation in size, it doesn't quite sit right. And additionally, what happens is the weight of the ornaments end up popping a majority of them off of those little plastic holders that they come on, and so you end up with a string of garland that is missing half of its ornaments, and it can be really frustrating to continually pop those back on. And how do you get this thing to work out in a way where you can put the ornaments exactly where you want them and not have half of the ornaments on the back? So this is how you're going to do that. What you need to do is get some sort of anchor point, and so I use this piece of ribbon just so I have something to also, when I take it off of the tree, just as an anchor. Sometimes an even better anchor point is to use a large piece of garland, and the reason that that's even better is because it has a wire base to it that's going to be really stable, and additionally it's going to have those additional tree branches that are just going to give a little bit more structure and support to the ornaments that you're placing. But either or, it's really going to give you the same effect, but in my case I did use ribbon. Now, to start this, you're going to need some sort of wire, and not a super thick wire, something that's a little bit malleable that you can really move and bend and make sure that you get your ornaments in the right place. Now I'm going to thread the ornaments onto that wire, but I'm not going to stack them one on top of the next. What I'm going to do is actually place an ornament, twist the ornament into place, and then leave a little bit of space, and then twist another ornament into place. And that space is actually what's going to allow you to be able to stack those ornaments without all of them popping off. And so when you have a long chain of all these ornaments, then you can start to weave them in around whatever base you've chosen. And so a different way to do this is to just take a really long piece of wire and then just kind of create a continual piece of ornament garland that way. But I like to do it in sections. I think it's a little bit easier to control, because that way you can kind of step back from the Christmas tree and see, how you have, what ornaments you've put on there so far, how the balance is, what you've created, and then go from there. And so I do start in the beginning with larger ornaments towards the base of my tree. I mix that with large and medium-sized ornaments, and then as I make my way up the tree and around, I then start to mix in smaller and smaller to create just a dramatic kind of swirl effect onto my Christmas tree. Now as you go along, you're just going to literally twist the ornaments into place, and so you wrap them around loosely, and then once you have them draped under your Christmas tree or any location, you could also do this on a garland like I mentioned, then you're going to take the ornaments and twist them, and this is going to kind of anchor them exactly where you want them, and you're going to make it sure that all of your ornaments are visible in the way that you want them. And this is the benefit to doing the wire technique, as well as not stacking them one on another. You can push all of the ornaments towards the front and overall have less product that you need to use. Now, once I have my garland finished, I'm going to go ahead in with my topper and just really create a nice full pick topper on my Christmas tree. And what you'll notice about this tree is I'm using just bright whites and glitter and silver and gems and anything that's just a lot of has that sparkle, okay, so that winter glamorous effect, okay. And so this is what's gonna be classic to the glamorous Christmas Wonderland tree, is that everything is really going to have a pure white or silver appearance. I then go in over top of my garland and just add in a couple of extra touches. If I want to add in some flowers to outline around both sides of my ornament garland, just to really make it pop and to exaggerate the band that I'm creating around this Christmas tree. And I also layer in some nice birds and butterflies that I have that are all just in the same genre of decorations. But one of the things you'll notice with the tree that I created is that I actually leave two large open spaces on either side of this dramatic garland that I created. And I did that on purpose because if you fill in the entire tree, then you really lose the effect of the garland swag that you created, and it just looks like you have a tree that is completely filled with product. And this is also a gorgeous look, by the way, but if you want to create a garland on your tree of ornaments and you really want it to be the centerpiece, I would encourage you to leave some open space on your Christmas tree to allow the eye to rest, and also to provide that contrast so that you can really see what you're creating there. Sometimes when we overdo it, you lose the design element that you're trying to create. And so this, I would recommend, if you want to do something like this, to leave a little bit of kind of like dead space essentially, so that the eye can rest. I really love the way that this little Christmas tree turns out next to my fireplace. And then, you know, one of the things I always tell you is that I like to set the scene. I make sure that I match my fireplace to just not overpower what I've already decorated, but just to complement it in a delicate way. And so making sure that I keep that monochromatic palette of the whites and the silvers, and so not to overwhelm this space, because again, I have another Christmas tree in the same room on the opposite side of the living room, and so I want to make sure that all of the decorations that I have are complementary and also not overpowering one over the other. On the opposite side of the room, I created this Winter Wonderland in Narnia feeling, and I wanted to really set the scene with this. I actually incorporated this Christmas tree completely into my decor by using the chair that I have to be part of the decorations, and so this is a little bit unique, but I want to take you through how I created this Christmas tree. And it's kind of funny because when I look at this tree, it's so grand and it's so beautiful, and in person it just has this ethereal just magic to it that's really difficult to capture in photos, especially at night when it has that little bit of that beautiful yellow glow. And just looking at the details in the tree up close, it's just really something. But this was actually a very cheap Christmas tree that I DIY'd, and so I took this tree and I took it apart and I flocked this Christmas tree. And I think I've mentioned to you before, but flocking a Christmas tree is a really good way to get the base right when it comes to decorating. And so sometimes if you use a dark green Christmas tree and then you try to make it a Winter Wonderland tree, it can be really difficult to get that look, because you're going to need a lot of product to cover up that tree and make that design. And so you can just see that example when you saw the little short tree that I did next to my fireplace. I used a lot of ornaments to cover up that tree in that band that wrapped around, whereas if I had used a flocked Christmas tree, you wouldn't necessarily need to cover the entire thing with ornaments. But you know, this is just a different perspective on how to create this type of design. So going back to this Christmas tree, after I flocked it, I had a really good base, and then I took some branches from my yard and I spray painted them white. And now what I want to do with these is really create some outward dimension from the tree. And I love this about designing a tree. If I have a space where I can put this dimension on it, I absolutely think it's a stunning effect. And so whereas my Winter Glam tree, everything was kind of very tight on the tree, this one, everything flows off of the tree. And so I have these branches that I anchor towards the top, and I have them also going across the chair that I have. And by the way, you also see that I put up a little bit of scenery in the background with this backdrop that I had, and that really helps with another little design element to this look. Once I have those branches in place, I go ahead and add in some of the lighting elements as well to the tree, because I want these branches to be really well lit. And so having this dangling effect of these beautiful fairy lights, I think that they just add such a nice touch to the Christmas tree. This is not your typical strand of incandescent lighting. This is a little bit more of a fairy lighting. They're curtain lights, and so that way I just kind of wrapped around the tree, and then I tuck them into the tree on the way down, and I think that it really added a nice effect with the lighting. And then I'm going to just layer this tree with tons and tons of picks. And when I say picks, I'm using things that have variations in texture of pine and evergreen that are going to be layered in, some frosted pieces, some non-frosted pieces, some different branches, and things that even leaves that I have from my autumn collection of greenery. I put some leaves in there, and so I wanted it to look like, if you imagine going into the woods, you would see all these things. You would see leaves that were on the ground that had not necessarily been decomposed yet from the fall, and things like that, you know, branches just randomly in the tree. And so I really wanted to create a Winter Wonderland in deep forest look. And so by adding all these picks and balancing them throughout the Christmas tree, I think that I was really able to get that effect. And what I did was I took those picks and extended them across the top of this chair that I have sitting next to it. And it just created this ethereal little cozy nook that you can go into and just have a nice little book to read and a hot chocolate and just enjoy not only looking at the Christmas tree but almost being part of the Christmas tree. And so just a lovely place for photos and relaxing, anything. And so that is a kind of a fun little tidbit that I did here. And so after I add in all of these picks, now the funny thing is, when you look at the overall tree, it doesn't look that crazy because it's not contrasting. But the amount of picks that I have in here, I have quite some picks in here, and it took me a long time to balance that out, because when I decorate a Christmas tree, I put some picks in and I step back and I look and I put some more picks in, and it's kind of a process for sure, because it's something of balance and design that you do as an artist. And so I think that that's why I enjoy it so much, because it's a form of artistry. And I actually, you'll notice in some of my videos as well that I always decorate in the evenings, and that's because I have 4 young children, and I tried in the one day to decorate the daylight so you guys could see how pretty this thing looks in the daylight. But then I got some visitors. My 2 twins came in to say hello because you cannot decorate with children at home. So I recommend, if you have children too, just decorate in the evening once everyone goes to sleep, and that way you can really focus on how are you bringing in those elements to the tree and making sure that you're from left to right, everything is balanced. And that's really what's going to give you that designer look. Now with this tree, I also want to show you another element of design that is one of the design techniques that I've talked about in my videos, is how to extend your Christmas tree all the way to the floor. And so in this instance, I used garland around the base of my tree to make sure that that tree goes the entire way. And what I do is I anchor that garland with some of the branches, and then I just wrap it back and forth to create that full effect. And then when I'm adding the picks, I just add them right into the garland just to blend that all in together, and creating that tree all the way to the floor, and so that you don't see the legs of the tree or even a tree skirt, is a really dramatic way to decorate a Christmas tree. When it comes to lighting of the Christmas tree, I also have some really beautiful tree toppers that I would like to use that are going to be a lighting feature as well. And so I think that I've mentioned to you in the past that lighting features in your Christmas tree can really add the drama. And so I decided I'm just going to go ahead and add 3. So not just 1 star, but 3 stars. And I layer them up on the top of this Christmas tree for a just beautiful and dramatic impact. I just was completely satisfied and overwhelmed with how pretty this turned out. Now to finish this tree off, now we're really going to add in the drama. Here you go, guys. I'm going to show you something that I don't know if you've seen it before, but this is going to be the effect that's going to take your Christmas tree to the next level. I take these beautiful large ornaments and I'm going to stick these into my Christmas tree. And when I put them in there originally, they have a really high level of contrast, and immediately I feel a little bit put off by it. But here is the tip that's going to really put it over the edge. I take a can of flocking and I just graze it over top of these large ornaments or any of the picks that maybe were a little bit off season, for example, like my fall leaves, or some of the branches that look like they had not been part of the snowfall. And so that is really the element that's going to bring this magic home to this Winter Wonderland in Narnia Christmas tree. I think that the overall result is just spectacular. I don't know what you guys think, but in my house, this is one of my favorite places to sit, and it just reminds me I'm in the middle of the forest and I've discovered a Christmas tree decorated by Christmas elves. It's just a magical thing to look at. And so I'm really curious to hear what you think. Did you prefer the Winter Wonderland Glam tree or the Winter Wonderland in Narnia tree? So guys, I really hope that you're enjoying my home design series as well. I have just one more announcement. I wanted to let you know I am finishing up my Christmas tree competition very soon, and so I wanted to make sure that if you have your Christmas tree decorated and you want to get in on that competition, send me your photos to the email in the description below. And that way I can include your photo in the video, and the top 3 winners will be receiving a prize. One of the prizes will be my new book, The Grandeur of Christmas, and the other ones will be a surprise. So subscribe, stick around guys, and give me a thumbs up if you enjoyed today's video. I had a lot of fun sharing my art with you today. I'll see you guys next time. Bye for now.